From breaking news in South Korea to stories from around the world, we're here to bring you the news that matters.
Truth, clarity, and impartiality. And that's what we uphold in a fast-changing world.
We go beyond the headlines, offering depth, context, and perspective.
This isn't just news, it's our commitment. News you trust. Arirang News.
In our headlines on this Monday, July 28th, here in South Korea, Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chol is scheduled to sit down with his U.S. counterpart Scott Bessent on July 31st, that is this coming Thursday, for trade talks while the EU and the U.S. agree on a broad tariff framework. Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong claims the regime has, quote, no interest in efforts by the Lee Jae-myung administration to improve inter-Korean ties. And here in South Korea, the temperature continues to hover well above 35 degrees Celsius nationwide, and at least 11 people have lost their lives to heat-related illnesses thus far this summer. The US and the EU have agreed to a tariff framework that imposes a blanket duty of 15% on most imports from the European bloc into the American market. Our Lee Seung-jae has details.
The United States and the European Union avoided a major trade war as the two sides agreed on a 15% tariff on most EU goods going into the US on Sunday. The framework trade agreement was announced by U.S. President Donald Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen during their meeting at the U.S. leaders' luxurious golf course in Western Scotland.
We have stabilized on a single 15% tariff rate for the vast majority of EU exports. This rate applies across most sectors, including cars, semiconductors, pharmaceuticals. This 15% is a clear ceiling, so no stacking, all inclusive.
The deal also includes a 0-for-0 tariff rate for certain strategic products. Those goods include aircraft and aircraft parts and certain chemicals and generic drugs. However, no decision has been made on wine and spirits. Also, a major part of the trade deal is the European bloc agreeing to purchase $750 billion worth of energy from the U.S.
Is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing.
The deal means the EU has now avoided Trump's initial proposal of 30% tariffs on goods from the EU. The U.S. has also struck deals with the UK, Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Trump announced that 3 to 4 more countries could strike a deal with the U.S. in the coming days. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Right, and taking into account that outlook by Mr. Trump, South Korea is actively working to seal a trade deal with the U.S. ahead of this coming Friday's deadline on the pause in country-specific tariffs. Our correspondent Kim Yo-jong has the latest.
After a last-minute cancellation derailed his trip to the U.S. last week, Finance Minister Koo Yoon-cheol's new date for a one-on-one meeting with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is July 31st, the day before the U.S. tariffs pause ends. With the tariffs set to take effect the following day, this could be Seoul's last chance to strike a deal before the 25% duties kick in, as announced, along with other tariffs for specific items such as cars, steel, and chips. Adding pressure, Japan has already secured a 12.5% tariff on auto exports compared to a rate of 25% rate for other nations, giving its automakers a potential edge over Korean competitors. In response, Seoul is reportedly preparing a broad package of proposals, including deeper cooperation in strategic sectors like shipbuilding and semiconductors and significantly expanded investment commitments. One key bargaining chip, a possible boost to Korea's $100 billion plus investment plan aimed at matching Japan's earlier pledge of $550 billion in exchange for tariff concessions. The presidential office is also on full alert. President Lee Jae-myung is set to be watching the situation around the clock as the deadline approaches, closely monitoring the situation.
The president's message is to approach the negotiations with multiple factors in mind, considering the complex and evolving global landscape, and to aim for outcomes that could bring significant benefits to our country.
On Saturday, the top office convened its second emergency meeting in as many days, led by Policy Chief Kim Yo-jong and National Security Advisor Ri Sung-rak. With both the industry and trade ministers currently in the U.S., they joined virtually to brief on their latest meetings with U.S. counterparts. Shipbuilding again emerged as a key point of discussion, according to Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwan, reflecting Washington's continued interest in strategic manufacturing ties. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, South Korea is committed to seeking communication with North Korea, despite the latter's tough rhetoric against potential cross-border interaction. Kim Jong-sil covers these comments by the Unification Ministry here and more.
South Korea says it won't be swayed from its push for peace. Following North Korea's first official statement since the Lee Jae-myung administration took power, the presidential office said Monday it's taking the North's remarks seriously, but insists its focus remains on building peace through steady, necessary action. At the Unification Ministry, the message was much the same.
We believe the statement shows Pyongyang is closely watching our policy direction. While distrust from the North remains deep, our push for peace and inter-Korean cooperation will continue, calmly and with consistency.
Officials here say they won't be swayed by every comment from Pyongyang and that they'll be sticking to a steady, non-confrontational approach. But the tone from the North was very different. The statement came earlier in the day from Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un. She dismissed Seoul's suspension of border loudspeaker broadcasts as not worthy of recognition and criticized other recent moves, including talk of resuming tourism and halting leaflet campaigns. She also rejected speculation that Kim Jong-un might be invited to the APEC meeting in the South, calling the idea a vain illusion. Kim accused the South of being trapped in the ghost of unification by absorption and said North Korea no longer sees the South as part of one people, but simply as another state.
Even before Seoul's new cabinet takes shape, North Korea is rejecting anything it sees as a threat to its interests. With no shift in the ROK-US alliance, the North sees little value in peace overtures.
Analysts say Pyongyang may be rejecting dialogue to sideline Seoul and entrench its two-state strategy, a move that runs directly against the South's push for reconciliation. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the first direct passenger flight between Moscow and Pyongyang in some 3 decades has taken off. This past Sunday evening, a Pyongyang-bound flight by Russia's Northwest Airlines departed from Moscow. Each flight can accommodate about 400 passengers and takes around 8 hours. Tickets cost roughly $560. Prior to this route, the only direct flight between Russia and North Korea was the Vladivostok-Pyongyang route. Russia is also reportedly considering a direct route to Wonsan on North Korea's east coast. South Korea took part in one of the Indo-Pacific's largest and most complex military exercises, which began earlier this month. Our defense correspondent Kim Yo-jong reports.
South Korea's Navy and Marine Corps have successfully completed their part in a biennial multinational exercise in Australia that went on for around a month, starting early this July. Named Talisman Saber, meaning sword with mysterious power, the exercise marks the largest bilateral military drill between Australia and the U.S. Aiming to hone operational capabilities, this year's edition united more than 35,000 military personnel from 19 like-minded countries. Korea's Navy first participated in 2021, and the Marine Corps joined in 2023. More than 800 personnel from the Navy and Marine Corps, along with around 10 types of equipment, including Korean amphibious assault vehicles, K-9 self-propelled howitzers, and multiple Chunmoo rocket systems, joined the exercise. With U.S. and Australian forces, Korean troops conducted joint live-fire training, with K-1 tanks joining the drill for the first time, and amphibious airborne assault drills using Korean and Australian assault assets also took place. The drill was seen as a chance to improve operational capabilities.
We've conducted combined joint operations with the Republic of Korea, conducting naval, maritime and land operations as part of ongoing integration training in order to ensure that we can work together in a safe environment and fight together if required.
Through tactical exchanges with various countries, such as Australia and the United States during this training, our unit's combat capabilities have advanced to a higher level. We will do our best to complete our mission with strong unity and ensure everyone returns safely.
The Navy and Marine Corps personnel who took part will depart Australia on Tuesday and arrive at a port in Jinhae of Gyeongsang-namdo Province in mid-August. Kim Yo-jong, Arirang News.
The blistering heat is showing no sign of abating nationwide, and those here in Seoul are seeking public pools to cool off. Our Park Eun-woo was out and about.
Splashing in deep water, people are wading away the heat. This large outdoor swimming pool near the Hangang River is packed, even during the hottest part of the day. With heat warnings issued nationwide, Seoul hit 37 degrees Celsius on Monday, while similar sweltering conditions are expected throughout the week.
It feels like I'm in a sauna standing out here. So instead of staying indoors, people are cooling off wherever they can, just like in this pool right behind me. In this kind of heat, even a small splash makes a big difference.
The weather is very hot, so I think it's a very good idea to come to the pool and swim a little bit. In Poland, we don't have that hot. Yeah, we are having a great experience.
Compared to last year, my skin feels burning because it's particularly hot this year, which also makes me worried for people working outside.
According to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, around 2,300 people have been treated for heat-related illnesses this year as of Saturday, including outdoor workers. That's 2.5 times more than the same period last year. Among them, 11 people have reportedly died. This surge is linked to the number of heat wave days doubling from last year. And the damage isn't limited to people. Roughly 2,000 farm fish and more than 1 million livestock deaths, a tenfold increase from 2024, have also been reported. Accordingly, the government convened a Central Disaster Response meeting on Monday, where the Interior Ministry said all available resources will be mobilized to minimize casualties. Authorities also pledged support for vulnerable groups here, including victims of the recent floods, from further damage. While the weather agency forecasts a slight drop in temperatures later this week, the authorities advise the public to stay indoors, remain hydrated, and rest frequently as the intense heat and tropical nights continue. 박건우, Arirang News.
Also on the local front, the Bank of Korea shared suggestions to bolster foreign customer participation on Korean e-commerce platforms. The bank's report on this Monday claimed complex registration procedures are major barriers against potential foreign customers and advised simplifying these sign-up requirements. The report also emphasized the need to adopt international payment methods as well as credit cards issued overseas. Now, despite the growing demand for K-products, findings for last year show foreign direct purchases remained 1/5 the size of purchases made by South Koreans. And South Korea's annual Mud Festival is back at its largest beach on the West Sea. Our Park Hyo-bin files this report from Daecheon Beach over in Boryeong.
Splashing, tumbling, and soaking up the fun. Despite the scorching heat, people are all smiles as they dive into the mud and leave the summer swelter behind. Daecheon Beach in Chungcheongnam-do Province is holding the 28th Boryeong Mud Festival, which opened last Friday.
It is over 30 degrees here in Boryeong, but the more mud, the cooler it gets. This is why people head here to beat the summer heat.
What began as a local event has now become one of the most beloved summer festivals in the world, attracting around 1.6 million visitors last year, many of them from abroad. The only goal here is to get dirty together.
Oh yeah, it's really fun.
It's a lot funner than we thought.
The mud dunk tank was really good because we got fully submerged in mud.
Oh, that's great.
Just completely covered.
Hi, I'm from Migook. I am having a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm from Canada. I'm having so much fun. I've never been to an event like this before. It's been so fun. Yeah.
You can see it feels really good. I hope it's good for my skin. It doesn't feel sticky or dirty at all. It actually feels really nice.
But the now famous Boryeong Mud wasn't always celebrated. Back in the early 1990s, Daecheon Beach was seen as murky and uninviting until it was discovered that the mineral-rich mud was great for the skin. What was once worthless became a treasure, and by 1998, the Boryeong Mud Festival was born. This year's event is bigger and bolder than ever. Visitors can dive into a mudslide, spin through the mud barbecue, or simply cover themselves in a mineral-rich sludge. There are special zones for families with young children. And by night, the energy ramps up with K-pop concerts and dazzling drone light displays. Festival organizers say safety is a top priority, especially with the record-breaking heat waves this summer.
The heat wave has been especially intense lately, so we've prepared safety measures to make sure visitors can stay comfortable while enjoying the festival.
Officials say more than 2 million people from around the world are expected to join the festival this year. To help visitors from overseas enjoy the fun, interpretation services are offered in English, Chinese, and Japanese. The ultimate summer playground, Boryeong Mud Festival, runs until August 10th. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News, Boryeong.
And the Korean animation King of Kings has drawn over 700,000 viewers as of this past Sunday, which also noted its 12th day at local theatres. The film marks the second fastest pace for a K-animation, following Leafy, A Hen into the Wild, which hit the same milestone in 10 days. King of Kings, released on July 16th here in South Korea, is now also the second highest grossing animation for the year in the country, following Attack on Titan: The Last Attack. The King of Kings set a box office record in North America following its debut in April, earning more money than Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. The animation is based on the book The Life of Our Lord by Charles Dickens. Korean researchers have devised a sustainable method to better protect marine life from the repercussions of phosphorus. Our Cha Yoon-kyung explains.
Excess phosphorus in water causes an increase in algal blooms that cause green tides, which kill off fish and other organisms and pollute water resources, destroying marine ecosystems. Existing water treatment plants for the removal of this phosphorus that comes from fertilizers and manufacturing runoffs require huge amounts of power consumption but do not eliminate the algae effectively. Researchers have developed a new type of water treatment that not only observes phosphorus in the water, but also reads it off the green tide-forming algae. This apparatus uses sea urchin-shaped magnetic nanoparticles on the inner surface of a tube and permanent magnets on the outer surface, which attract pollutants in contaminated water as it flows through.
When 1 gram of pollutant is added, this water treatment system can retrieve a larger amount of phosphorus in 5 minutes, which is a huge advantage.
The inner surface is also coated with lanthanum, which attracts phosphorus, and copper that eliminates the algae, thus removing the pollutants that cause green tides effectively. The purified water can then be reused by industries and farmers and not just discharged into rivers as before.
We were able to observe that the apparatus can process 99% of the total coliform group within the water. It can absorb a large amount of phosphorus, which can be removed and utilized as a cleaner for pipes.
As the water treatment apparatus can absorb phosphorus, which can be reused and eliminate pollutants, the researchers expect that it can contribute to reducing climate change and water shortages. 차윤경, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. The Israeli military has announced a daily pause in military activity in 3 densely populated areas of Gaza to ease the ongoing humanitarian crisis. On Sunday, the Israel Defense Forces declared a tactical pause in fighting from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. local time daily until further notice in Gaza City, Deir al-Balah, and al-Mawasi while launching airdropped aid. To facilitate aid delivery, Israel has also designated secure corridors for UN and humanitarian convoys, which will be in place permanently between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. More than 100 truckloads of food, medicine, and supplies were dispatched towards southern Gaza. Meanwhile, Jordan and the UAE also airdropped about 25 tons of flour, sugar, and canned goods into the enclave. The military pause aims to increase the scale of humanitarian aid amidst warnings of mass starvation. However, aid groups say that only under 8% of World Food Program trucks have successfully distributed supplies due to delays and theft, and point out that airdrops are inefficient and sometimes dangerous. A passenger train derailed in southern Germany on Sunday, killing at least 3 people and seriously injuring others. Around 100 people were aboard the train when 2 carriages came off the rails at 6:10 p.m. local time in a wooded area near the town of Reutlingen in the southwest of the country. Authorities are examining whether strong winds that swept the region shortly before the incident contributed to the derailment. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz expressed grief on his social media, saying, "We mourn the victims." Greece and Turkey are grappling with a record-breaking heat wave and major wildfires, prompting mass evacuations as strong winds and scorching temperatures fuel the flames. As temperatures reached 42.4 degrees Celsius in central Greece on Sunday, emergency services battled more than 50 wildfires across regions, including the Peloponnese, Evia, and Crete, with new evacuation alerts issued. Meanwhile, in neighboring Turkey, a Mediterranean heat wave reaching a record 50.5 degrees Celsius has ignited widespread blazes. Over 1,700 residents were evacuated from Bursa, the country's 4th largest city. Authorities reported that more than 70 wildfires broke out within 24 hours in the country. In the UK, a pair of mixed-breed dogs and their human guardians made headlines at the Dog Masters Festival on Sunday, held at a beach in Dorset. Two teams broke a Guinness World Record with Matt Jenkins and his dog Gigi, alongside Ben Gray and Boo, breaking the 50-meter paddleboard sprint record in a time of 32 seconds. The festival, hosted as part of the UK Dog Surfing Championships, featured paddle boarding, surfing displays, and world record attempts. Another World Dog Surfing Championships is set to take place in the San Francisco Bay Area on August 2nd. 최지희, Arirang News.
Yesterday was the hottest day of this year in Seoul, rising to 38 degrees Celsius in the middle of the day. It was as hot as yesterday in most parts of the country today, with heatwave warnings in place all over the country. Daytime temperatures in Seoul, Jeonju, Cheongju rose to 37 degrees. Tomorrow it will reach 37 degrees again in Seoul, and this scorching heat will continue until the second half of the week. In addition, tropical nights have been continuing for the 9th straight day in Seoul, and this nighttime heat will be severe for the time being. Take extra care to avoid heat-related illnesses. Tomorrow morning will start very warm in Seoul at 27 degrees, Chuncheon 24 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 36 degrees in Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Daegu, 32 degrees in Busan and Jeju. There's no more rain forecast for the time being, but summer heat will continue instead. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching, and do stay with us for our daily panel session.
How to survive in Korea. Workplace. Step 1. Lunchtime. The most important morning routine is to check today's menu. Food is essential for survival. Memorize today's menu. The highlight of office life. Lunchtime. Rice in the bottom left, soup in the bottom right. The top is for the sides. The sauce and the spoon go here. This is the basic layout, but it's a bit odd to switch rice and soup. When you're done, pour the leftovers into the soup bowl. It doesn't look that appetizing, so wait until others are done eating. Step 2. Neng, nep, nenep. These are the most used expressions at work. Choose the most appropriate form. Neng, nep, nenep. Remember that the formal ne can sound a bit stiff. Did you just say yes? Absolutely not acceptable. You want to find the right word for the right occasion. Step 3. Desteria. Desteria is the oasis in the desert. Show them your character. If you're not the diligent type, get a stooky plant. Work is tough. Laugh and the whole world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. Stay put, like the stooky that survives in the desert. Hang in there until the end. Of course, you can always quit. You matter more than anything else. Step 4. Survival kit. Every worker needs a survival kit. Survival kit level 1. This position gets the most exposure. Grab one when you need a sugar boost. Always keep a few treats you can offer your co-workers. Survival kit level 2. These are for hunger pangs before and after a meal. You'll need them when you take a coffee break with your office buddies. Survival kit level 3. Trash talking your boss with your soulmate. Did you survive in the workplace? Office romance? Be careful. Even the photocopier knows all the gossip.
It was very important for Korean people during that time to get their freedom back.
Change the way you start skincare. 7 vegan peptide, maximum benefits for your skin. And amplify the effect of the next skincare step. Boosting, glowing, and brightening. Effortless care. Visible results. 7 vegan peptide booster. Mizone.
코딩을 배우고 싶어? 로보로보로 와! 로보로보와 코딩을 배워 로보로보와 사고력 키워 로보로보와 논리력 깨워 코딩 처음이라면 코딩 교육 전문가와 함께 로보로보와 실력을 높여 로보로보와 목표를 이뤄 로보로보와 내 꿈을 펼쳐
미래를 준비하는 코딩 교육 전문가
President Kim Yo-jong has spoken of a peaceful approach to tensions over North Korea's nuclear weapons ambitions. On Press Perspective today, we touch upon these prospects. Hope your work week is off to a good start. You're watching Press Perspective for this Monday, July 28th here in Seoul. I'm Min Sun-hee. The Unification Ministry here says South Korea remains committed to its push for peace on the Korean Peninsula. For more on this, I have Celia Fioretti with French daily Le Croix here in the studio. Celia, welcome back.
Glad to be here.
I also have Professor Edward Kwon at the Northern Kentucky University, who recently wrote an article for the National Interest on the new South Korean administration's hopes for better inter-Korean relations. Professor Kwon, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Right, we will start here in the studio. Celia, let's begin with a quick rundown of some of the actions taken by the Lee Jae-myung administration with regard to North Korea.
Yes, the Lee Jae-myung administration has taken several steps that signal a clear shift toward sowing inter-Korean relation. Most importantly, recently, the suspension of the long-standing radio broadcast into North Korea. These broadcasts were the few sources of uncensored information reaching North Korean citizens. Now, while the South Korean government didn't announce the move publicly, the presidential office has since confirmed that the broadcasts were indeed halted for some time now, framing it as a necessary decision to avoid further deterioration of ties with Pyongyang. Another action was a few weeks ago to send back 6 North Korean fishermen that drifted accidentally into South Korean waters last month, and they apparently said they wanted to return back to the North Korean regime. So the South Korean government made their way to North Korea through boats. Analysts found that this actions, although symbolic, mark a clear break from the hardline stance of the last president. It's part of a broader strategy to, some call like a strategic patience, to engage, giving some leeways to North Korea and trying to have a more diplomatic approach. But it didn't come without raising some eyebrows, especially coming from defectors or human rights organizations. North Korean defector mentioned that stopping the broadcast is counterproductive, as it was really important for them, and they feel as North Korean, to have access to outside information, and that can really bring change into the country if it's maintained. And also human rights advocates on the case of North Korean being sent back to North Korea, they ask the government to have more control or observe, at least if the decision was made properly, if the North Korean really wanted to go back to North Korea. The South Korean government didn't want or didn't give them time to observe it. So there's some tension growing about this policy. Is it really good in the end for both countries to give some leverage to North Korea that much without having anything back in return? We'll see how this policy goes, but that's the line the President Lee Jae-myung wants to go for now.
Right. And Professor Kwon, you recently wrote a piece for American magazine, The National Interest, as I mentioned earlier, on the new South Korean administration's policy on North Korea. First of all, then, Professor Kwon, what is your assessment of the new South Korean administration's North Korea policy?
It is very fortunate South Korea has promising leader who can reserve frozen inter-Korean relations. Such a challenging moment of time, the most steady and slow initiative of engagement and cooperation is very essential. So promising leader Lee Jae-myung pretty much deliver a lot of good ideas. For example, listen to gestures of turning off loudspeaker broadcasting system, which was maintained very serious escalation between South Korea and North Korea. North Korea replied back to tons of thousands of feared balloons, making more disastrous situation. Also, he tried to tout good relation with North Korea. He tried to initiate about regain about revival about comprehensive military agreement. This comprehensive military agreement is kind of important safety network between North Korea and South Korea. They provide for buffer zones in DMZ area and peace zones. And finally, this mechanism highly prevent any accidental military crash between North and South Korea. And then in the longer term, this GMA paved the way for denuclearization and permanent peace between North Korea and South Korea. Such kind of promising job made by the Lee Jae-myung make it more promising. So it is too early to evaluate about President Lee's North Korean policy, but I strongly believe that reciprocal North Korean reactions of turn off, switch off their broadcasting systems, and then reserving their direct criticism towards South Korean leaders and Donald Trump make it some promising signal, I believe. Thank you.
Right. For the time being, though, South Korea's attempt at extending an olive branch to North Korea has been met with a little bit of, well, quite a bit of bellicose rhetoric by its leader Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong, who rejected South Korea's efforts to resume cross-border interaction back on Sunday, which was reported today by the regime's state-run media. What exactly did Kim Yo-jong say, Celio?
Well, her message was very clear and very cold. Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of Kim Jong-un, publicly dismissed any attempt at engagement from North Korea towards South Korea's new administration, saying bluntly that Pyongyang has no interest in any talks. No matter what policy Seoul will try to have, they will not come at the table to discuss. This was North Korea's first official reaction to President Lee Jae-myung administration, which has already taken several steps, as we mentioned before. And it saw that this olive branch that it was extended to the North Korean regime didn't really change their mind. She even mentioned that stopping the loudspeaker broadcast was just reverting something that should have never been done by the South Korean government. So for them, it's still in the status quo, and they will not try to talk with anyone. She said that South Korea has a blind trust in the military alliance with the US and its continued participation in military drills, joint military drills with the US, and show that for North Korea, still they cannot trust South Korea so much because they're too implicated with the US. And so far, we have seen some answer from the South Korean government quite recently, just today before the show started. They said that despite this answer by Kim Yo-jong, the South Korean government will still try to pursue peace and try to continue to make a room for discussion. And they even mentioned the possibility of making some adjustment to US-Korea military drills. So they understand that concern from the North Korean regime. They will try maybe to adapt, to adjust to it. As again, it's still too early to see if it will go in the right way and if North Korea will answer also in the right way. But that's the direction. We'll see how it can work also with the US. How will there be their reaction to some adjustment on these military drills?
Right. So while Kim Yo-jong took issue with the drills between South Korea and the US, her brother Kim Jong-un, he told his soldiers last week, I believe, to prepare for an actual war. Could you tell us a bit more about these comments by Kim Jong-un?
Yes, Kim Jong-un urged his military to be ready for a real war during an artillery firing contest observed by state media. According to the Korean Central News Agency, North Korean state media, Kim Jong-un ordered his troops to be able to destroy the enemy in every battle, still keeping with his very militaristic languages, and to maintain a constant readiness for combat. Footage from the event shows soldiers firing shells out in the sea, while Kim Jong-un watched through binoculars. What's more concerning is the broader context of this declaration. We know that now North Korea and Russia has a military alliance for a year now. Over the past year, Pyongyang sent North Korean troops, over 10,000, in Ukraine to fight Ukrainian forces. Ukrainian intelligence said they might send more, on top of also more materials, shells and missiles given to Russia in exchange for maybe technology or food. And South Korean intelligence says that already 600 North Korean troops died fighting in Ukraine. But this alliance, this military pact that was signed last year, pose a certain problem to the region these days, because we don't know what can be the reaction of North Korea now that it has a strong allies, and it seems the alliance is going quite well. Putin and Kim met in person last year, and they might meet again at some point. Many Russian officials made the trip to Pyongyang and seem to deepen this relation, and that's quite worrying for South Korea right now.
Right. Professor Kwon, how do you explain North Korea's hardline stance? Do you believe it's simply seeking leverage and not necessarily an escalation in tensions? I mean, some pundits say that its bark is worse than its bite.
Yeah, in terms of North Korean relations, inter-Korean relations, sometimes North Korea purposefully or intentionally push away and then push hard to South Korea. So most of people think about there's a two different role within this North Korean authority, bad cop and good cop. Okay, so for example, Kim Yo-jong's harsh statement gave us some chilling moment, but we may consider for Singapore's and Hanoi agreement between Kim Jong-un and Trump. At the time, North Korea, Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump replied back very harsh tones of word and fire and fury. And then based on those episodes, every word and audience may like that, maybe United States and North Korea may engage in war. But right after those kind of very serious bombardment of criticism, they changed their mind and came to negotiation table. So such kind of behavior, we can think about that. This is pretty much typical ways of North Korea in bargaining strategies. And then we think about those hardline stance of North Korea, we can be attributed by former Yoon Suk-yeol administration hardline policy towards North Korea. At the time, former President Yoon exactly say, in order to deter North Korean attacks, North Korean nuclear threat, South Korea indigenously develop nuclear bomb, and reintroductions of tactical United States nuclear bomb. And such kind of moments is pretty much only find words. And then based on those bombardment of criticism, North Korea pretty much reply back more seriously. And for example, they develop more seriously various tactical nuclear weapons used for battlefields. And then the most serious one, North Korea exactly changed their existing military doctrines of no first use of nuclear weapon for non-nuclear power. They recently changed up those principles followed by law on DPRK published on nuclear forces September 2022. Pyongyang authorized potential preemptive attack toward U.S. and ROK in emergency situation. And then also Kim Jong-un formally declared that the end of 8 decades of inter-Korean relations, and then North Korea totally given up any reunification goal. And then also he termed two Korean relations like separate, hostile, and belligerent states. At the 10th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly in January 2024. So we need to watch about those North Korean behavior and keep working hard to making lasting peace in Korea. Thank you.
Right, which is why the current Lee Jae-myung administration has spoken about the importance of a peaceful approach to tensions here on the Korean Peninsula. That being said, South Korea is reportedly exploring the option of tourism to engage North Korea. Celia, what are the prospects of this option bearing fruit, do you think?
Yes, despite this difficult room for discussion, South Korea is looking at tourism as a tool for diplomacy with the North, a kind of soft approach still in this idea of strategic patience and making room for diplomacy to unfreeze the North Korean relations. According to Seoul Unification Ministry, they're studying various plans, including the possibility of allowing individual tourists to North Korea to travel to the North. It's worth noting that this type of tourism is not in violation of international sanctions. The sanctions are only targeting weapons program, not tourism revenue. And that's also why maybe North Korea is developing its tourism industry. We've seen recently with this new beach resort in Wonsan that is aimed for Russian tourists. That's a way for the Korean regime to get some money legally. So this new strategy of using tourism as a tool for diplomacy for the South comes with this strategy of Lee Jae-myung to restore diplomacy and lower the tension. Because it's not targeted by UN sanction, it might be also an easier way to deal with the North, something that would not pose too much diplomatic issue in the discussion between the two countries. And that might be an easy way to have some discussion. It has been tried before in the past, in the early 2000s. South Korean could visit North Korea in Kaesong and in Keumgangsan also for a resort. It ended badly as one of the tourists was shot by North Korean authorities. So it shows that there might be a room for possibilities, but at the same time, the situation has really changed in the last 20 years. The relation has worsened in the last administration. As I mentioned before, Russia is also there. That can also bring tourists to North Korea, and maybe North Korea will not want any South Korean tourists. They might be, for them, better off with Russia and not too complicated situation with another country. So it remains to see if North Korea will really listen to the calls of South Korea wanting to improve relations over tourism. For now, I'm personally skeptical they want to try that, but maybe one day there will be some room for improvement.
Right, then staying with this, Professor Kwon, what conditions do you believe are likely to persuade North Korea back to the dialogue table, Professor Kwon?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it is very tough right now because the recent international affair. including Donald Trump bombings of Iranian nuclear weapons and the Ukraine war. And then Washington declarations engagement of massive trilateral military drills. And then from those events, Kim Jong-un may have more firm conviction that nuclear weapon is only so major for his regime survival. So such kind of very bad situation, also North Korea think about that. What if Ukraine or Libya Gaddafi had not given up their nuclear weapons or programs, that such tragic incident may not be happen. They think about that. So a series of military drills followed by the Washington's declaration and South Koreans' indirect military support towards Ukraine and by United States met with North Korean military dispatchment and artillery drill support to Russia, and finally make it very important treaty, comprehensive strategic partnership between Russia and North Korea. For the North Korea secured financial gain from those military supports, partly relieve some compensation of their sanction from United Nations Security Council and United States. So such kind of way, North Korea may have no serious reason to come back to negotiation table. But in the longer perspective, if the situation is pretty much relieved and peace agreement reached by Ukraine and Russia, then North Korea Kim Jong-un may think about that. According to recent news reports of North Korean sources, North Korea is struggling with rampant food shortage, and military soldiers save their food and deliver this one to those local areas. So I mean, nuclear weapon is pretty much a mighty tool to guarantee their security, but cannot help improve their economy. So if we believe North Korea leader Kim Jong-un is a rational actor, then they pretty much highly desperate need to relieve sanctions from United States and United Security Council in order to support their economy. So based on those given economic conditions, if President Lee's pragmatic diplomacy and engagement policy would success, then Kim Jong-un may come back to negotiation table. So definitely this kind of situation is more important way we need to consider. So more steady and slow way and engagement policy may help to thaw these relations and cause Kim Jong-un to persuade to come back to negotiation table, I believe. Thank you.
Right, and staying with what Professor Kwon has said, Celia, despite the commitment to denuclearization that South Korea and its global partners have shared with regard to North Korea's nuclear weapons program, a growing number of pundits, like Professor Kwon said, are casting doubt on this particular goal. Could you touch upon these doubts for us?
Yes, skepticism is growing fast and for good reason. As we mentioned, the recent collapse of Iran denuclearization effort triggered part by aggressive U.S. policy, abandoning diplomacy even though they were on the path for an agreement and a summit, and they decided to bomb the facilities instead, was seen by Pyongyang as really a proof that they should not trust Western promises for diplomacy, and kind of push them back into this rhetoric of nuclear weapon will be the only answer to protect the country. Donald Trump's decision to abandon diplomacy is not really a good sign of if he wants to approach North Korea again like he did in his president term, because I don't think they will be this time willing to make any sort of compromise. Back then in 2018, Kim Jong-un was willingly to make some sort of deal with Trump. I don't think that would be the case anymore. And now there's more also growing calls in South Korea for developing its proper own homegrown nuclear armament because the US seems to be unreliable. So far, if things go that way and keep going that way, we're seeing a situation where on both sides of the peninsula, both countries will get more and more armed in a race of armament that will not be able to ease off the tension between the two countries. Even if now the current administration is looking for more diplomacy. We mentioned that it's difficult because North Korea is not on that path for now, and they're as long as Professor Kwon mentioned, as long as the war in Ukraine is not solved, North Korea doesn't have really much incentive to go back on the negotiating table. So for now, it's very difficult to see a path where both countries will not be more armed and ready to face each other, despite calls to go to the table, to the negotiating table. But North Korea still refuses it. So it's very, I don't want to say gloomy, but it's very uncertain how diplomacy can make its room in this situation.
Right, but for now the South Korean government has asserted that it will maintain a peaceful approach to tensions on the peninsula. All right, Celia, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for your time and thoughts. And Professor Kwon, over in the US, thank you so much for your insights and for making time to join us live at this very early hour on this Monday at your end.
Thank you.
Right, well, that is all the time we have today. Thank you for watching, and do join us again same time tomorrow.
'25 celebrates the 80th anniversary of liberation. A place filled with